The 1973-74 season, League Division 3 finishing 9th, League Cup second round, FA Cup second round. It was no secret that Alan Waddell, after a number of promising displays, was a wanted man. At the beginning of June, Halifax Town put a £46,000 price tag on the head of the player whom George Mulhall had reckoned had saved the club from relegation. And 3 weeks later, that is what reigning league champions Liverpool paid for him. Bill Shankly was looking for an understudy for John Shoshack, and Waddell's 6'3" frame more than fitted the bill. Also leaving the share was Jeff Lee, a loyal servant, who had signed for Halifax Town originally as an amateur way back in 1964. The previous season, Lee had been awarded a benefit match. Preston provided the opposition in November and won 4-3, but although he had been retained by Mulhall, Lee fancied a change, and Peterborough United paid £6,000 for his services. New players included a straight replacement for Waddell in Welsh under-23 international Dave Guire, a regular tormentor of the Shaymen. He cost £10,000 from Swansea City and was probably more the finished article than Waddell was. David Ford, a former England under-23 international and FA Cup finalists and scorer with Sheffield Wednesday, actually joined from Sheffield United. David Pugh was a £6,000 buy from Chesterfield, whilst Jerry McDonald arrived on a free, having been released by Blackburn Rovers. Then, just 2 days before the new season was due to start, Mulhall rushed back from a scouting mission in Scotland to secure Huddersfield Town winger Alan Jones in a £4,500 deal. Halifax Town's start to the league programme was unspectacular. 3 straight draws setting the tone for the rest of the season. The first win arrived at Oakwell, where Town disposed of 4th Division Barnsley in the first round of the League Cup, but only after a replay. The first league win against Charlton came at the 6th attempt and coincided with Pugh taking over the captaincy after Mulhall had claimed that John Pickering was too quiet. Charlton would gain ample revenge 2 weeks later when they won 5-2 at the Valley, one of 2 early season hammerings suffered by Town. Grimsby had won 4-1 at Blundell Park on the 11th of September. Town were hardly setting the division alight, and their second round League Cup tie with Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Shea was probably a welcome distraction. Wolves were a useful First Division outfit and had been UEFA Cup finalists the previous season. They had lost over 2 legs to Tottenham Hotspur. Their current side included internationals Derek Dougan, Northern Ireland. He was chairman of the PFA, John Richards of England, and future Town manager Jim McCalliog, Scotland. On the night, Town matched their opponents for long periods, only to go down 3-0, with Fred Kemp missing a crucial penalty at 1-0. Wolves would not look back in the competition, going on to beat Manchester City 2-1 in the final at Wembley. Just how many of the 8,222 who watched the match at the Shea got in without pain is not clear, but doubtless quite a few did. At their AGM on the 18th of October, Halifax Town had announced they were losing around £600 per week, but Mulhall was quick to accuse the board about their attitude towards ground security. There were many hidden parts of the ground where gate crashers, especially young boys, could sneak in for free, but alas, this problem would not be addressed properly for several years. Until it was, Halifax Town would keep on losing money. Dave Worthington, who had begun his career at the Shea in 1962, returned to the fold on loan from Grimsby. He played his part in a 6-match unbeaten run that culminated in a 6-1 defeat of Northern Premier League Frickley Colliery in the first round of the FA Cup. Frickley, cheered on by around 1,000 supporters, included in their side former Town winger Archie Taylor, but they were clearly second best on the day. Dave Guire scored a headed hat-trick as Halifax Town ran up their highest score since defeating Bishop Auckland 7-0 in an FA Cup replay in 1967. Towards the end of 1973, Ted Heath's Conservative government had been hit by an energy crisis that had resulted in the 3-day week. The Football League tried to help out by allowing games to kick off an hour earlier, thereby avoiding the necessity of using floodlights. One game that remained a 3 p.m. kick-off was Town's first ever league meeting with Huddersfield Town at Leeds Road on Boxing Day. The Shaymen lost 4-0, but they put it out of their system with a useful run over the holiday period. They even managed to hold leaders Bristol Rovers to a goalless draw, and for a short time there were optimistic talk on the terraces of promotion. Because of the energy crisis, the board, it now included John Crowther, had discussed the possibility of Sunday soccer. Once the Football League sanctioned this experiment, Town played 3 games at the Shea on the Sabbath, the first being a 1-1 draw with Southport, then managed by Alan Ball, following his sacking from Preston the previous season. There were obvious comparisons in attendance at the Shay with those at Frum Hall, where Halifax RLFC played host to New Hunslet. 4,178 turned up for the soccer, whilst only 1,302 attended the rugby, therefore pouring scorn on those who believed that Halifax had always been a rugby town. Town's two other Sunday games saw them defeat Walsall 3-1 and lose 1-0 to Cambridge, for whom ex-Shayman Dave Leonard scored the only goal. Brighton, now managed by Brian Clough following a dramatic exit from Derby County, turned down Town's request to play on the Sunday, citing a lack of rail services as their reason. The last 3 months of the season were especially difficult. When Alan Jones underwent a cartilage operation, Town's professional staff was cut to just 14 players. Mulhall was fortunate to sign Huddersfield's David Smith on deadline day on a month's loan, but in view of Town's plight, Smith would stay at the Shay until the end of the season. Still, content with his efforts at keeping Town's head above the water, the board at last offered Mulhall a 2-year contract, and that he was not. Until then he was not under contract, which on the 18th of March he accepted. One of his next tasks was to oblige the league to postpone Town's game at Bournemouth on the 29th of March because he was down to just 10 fit players, and that included both goalkeepers. Unexpectedly, given the circumstances, Town ended the season with an 8-match unbeaten run, saving the best game till last. Then, having fallen behind, they defeated an already promoted York side in a thrilling contest. Following the drama of the previous term, George Mulhall had worked wonders to steer Town to a praiseworthy 9th position, and most importantly, in the eyes of many Shay supporters, 1 place higher than Huddersfield Town. Upon the season's close, Mulhall released Wilkie. He would return to Ross County, MacDonald and John Pickering, whom he described as a tremendous professional. Open to offers were Terry Shanahan and Fred Kemp, the latter eventually moving to Hereford for a 4-figure fee in June, having never really settled in Halifax in his 2.5-year stay here. Did you know a fact for this chapter? In the 1971 Watney Cup, Halifax Town experimented with wearing numbers on the front of their shirts. It was quickly abandoned.